Alright guys, HyDra here, and I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. And what a start we have had to the Major 4 qualifiers just a few days after what went down in Miami, FaZe bombing out top 6 and Thieves winning the entire thing. We now have a massive role reversal online. Thieves have turned up to this online split and it has not started in the way that they would have wanted. Drazah versus Scrappy always seems to deliver, usually not in this way. Lots to discuss today in terms of context for the future as well. Very much on Twitter your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. Just starting here really, overall points leaders in the last 5 years of the CDL. It's FaZe. It's always FaZe. It's always been FaZe. They've always been the #1 seed. The only times that they have not been the #1 seed in the league was a couple of times after stage 1. So a couple of years ago when New York won the first event and when Toronto won the first event. Outside of that, they have always been the #1 seed after the first major, and every other major apart from that. It's only been this most recent Major 3 where FaZe are no longer the #1 seed. But as of today, they've got a hell of a lot closer back to that #1 seed, and maybe they've already retaken it. I believe today they actually have retaken, for now, that #1 seed. So, look, their record over the last few years has been pretty stellar. MW19, they had the #1, plus 20 over Dallas. They were 110 over Toronto in Cold War, 65, 65, 65, can you believe, over the last 3 years with the points that they've scored compared to rivals. This year, their current advantage is 0, but they are beating Thieves on, I think, match records and head-to-head based on what has happened later on today. This, by the way, was the pitch. I don't know if this is like copyright or anything, but, you know, I will just play this like 2 seconds of the Jamie Insight pitch that we saw. You know, we kind of thought about what it was going to be, and here he is, slams the pitch. Honestly, not bad going, to be fair. So, yeah, the Minecraft day pitch. When I saw this first thing, I was like, wait, are they, is it some sort of Minecraft movie advert? And it seems like it probably is, but like, you know, that he's walking around with this Minecraft block guy. I mean, yeah, sensational work. Maybe some of you guys were there in attendance. There's also a bit of drama from Zuma. So he's got a new team, and there's challengers teams that don't want to scrim his new team. And Zuma ain't very happy about it, telling these guys a crazy privilege. We might talk about this more in the coming days, to be fair, because it is a big point of contention, really. Zuma's been going off on some challengers players over the last few days. He was talking a lot about when they scrim, because it's a known thing that these challenger kids, for some reason, they scrim on the same hours that the pros scrim, which, okay, makes sense you want to scrim the pros, I get it, but also it means that you can't have a normal job. If you're trying to turn up and do a 9 to 5, get home and scrim at night, that's how it was for many a year, right? I mean, Slasher famously spent all his day doing robotics at university, would come home and scrim at night time, right? That's kind of how it used to be. And for the pros, of course, it's their job. It makes sense they will scrim at, I mean, they're not even normal hours. They start scrims at 1 PM. It's not like they're up at the crack of dawn getting the scrims going. But it is not really contingent with doing anything else in life. So anyway, there's more to that than that discussion solely, but it is certainly a talking point anyway. Zuma's been going off about it over the last couple of days. He was leaking a bit of a scrim chat to Exceed, Fame, Mock, etc. And it's all been going on. So we'll probably get back to that very shortly. But let's get into what happened today, because this is pretty funny actually, when Scrappy was joining the party queue to join the CDL lobby as this first series was underway, because of course yesterday, that's when we saw Miami take down Thieves. That could prove to be a pretty critical game, because look, Miami are good and Super is amazing right now. This guy's playing some of the best COD, no doubt, in the entire league. But based on today's results, you might wonder, actually, hang on a second here, you know, are Miami really all that? Or are Thieves just a little bit shaky, a little bit complacent? I don't know, coming off their victory just a few days ago. It's online COD at the end of the day. Some of it, you might argue, doesn't really matter. But you also still want to go to Major 4 as the best seed you possibly can do, to give yourself the best chance of winning that whole thing, because Major 4 is going to be a massive event in DreamHack Dallas, right? The seeding could get all kinds of funky with the way that the results have gone so far this stage. And also, the #1 seed for champs is maybe kind of nice. I mean, it depends. Right now, it looks like OpTic are going to be the 8th seed. Do you want to play OpTic round 1? I don't know. I'm not saying that Thieves have thrown. Obviously, that you never, if you're Scrappy, you never in a million years decide that you were going to lose the series against Drazah. That was never going to happen, right? But you know what I'm saying? First or second seed, maybe it doesn't massively matter, but it's still a big talking point. So, this is Johnny in the Skyz jersey. Can you believe it? I guess they didn't have another jersey in time, so they chucked him in that one. And obviously there were plenty of jokes being made about this. But the series got underway, and actually, Gentlemate showed some signs of promise, right? They dominated the game one, and dominated exactly, but they won the game one, and it was impressive because Miami, really good at this map. They just beat Thieves on it yesterday, very emphatically. So they win the game one, they get dominated the game two, they get dominated, not dominated, but they lose the final round pretty comfortably the game three. So it was, business as usual, really. Again, Kiz is trying his best. Is this team better than the previous version? They are terrible, but I don't think they're actually, horrific, this Gentlemates team. I felt like there was always going to become a series where they at least showed some sort of promise. On paper their team is bad, but it's not terrible. And yeah, I mean, it is what it is. They're not really fighting for anything at this point. Scrap tries to join the lobby and get his revenge on Miami. And then they win the game four, right? I mean, it was a great map here from Lunarz, 30 and 19 with 2 minutes in the hill, finally seeing something from him. But unfortunately, Super exists. And also, when it comes to Game 5 Ice, it didn't happen, right? So, yeah, Super twerks on them Game 5. Kismet says sorry to the fans. Tough loss, of course, for those guys. They made it to a Game 5, but yeah, it is just blow it up, right? We'll see you next year with whatever roster they decide to put together. Johnny had a donut in the final map. Super dropped to 1.3. This guy's playing like one of the best players in the game right now. There's no doubt about that. What roster these guys may or may not field for the World Cup, that is another big question. The next series was a pretty big one, actually a massive one, really, because Cloud9 desperately need any 10 points they can get their hands on, and they gave themselves a good chance. Capsule had a mega takeover game one. He was shooting some bodies. That ended well, of course, because, pretty cool to see Capsule back and at least frying. But after that, it was Toronto that took some control of the series. This was a big round, of course, the Minecraft pitch buff here for Insight. I mean, you can't be losing this one, right? 1 versus 3. Get 2 frags against you, and then he runs away. Sib goes for the chase, and then he gets the final kill as well. Yeah, I mean, that is a round that potentially could define the season for Cloud9, right? I mean, 1 versus... I know that Insight's got a nice spot, and it's kind of tough, but... I mean, still, the decision-making here is not exactly optimal, and Sib is kind of confused what to do. If Sib hops it right here, Insight runs away, 7.5 to go, would he have seen the defuse in time? Well, he might get the defuse if he sticks it there, but he doesn't. Insight gets the round win, they get the control win as well, and then they get the hardpoint win as well. So after that, it was pretty smooth sailing. JoeDeceives and CleanX, handling business. And it was a big series for Beans, really, in the context of everything, as he tweets out, shooting bodies, what's good about that? GG's Cloud9 131. And obviously he was throwing up the shush emoji saying, look, calm down about this Mercury speculation. I am here to stay. And I think he is here to stay. Toronto have bounced back quite nicely. I mean, not even bounced back. They had a great weekend, of course, back then. But Beans, at least with a solid series, nearly the most damage in the lobby outside of CleanX. 1.14. Got the job done. Cloud9, tough result for these guys. Uncharacteristically poor series really from Sib in the 0.7s again. We've not seen that for some time. And they needed those 10 points. They didn't get them, of course, and that means their champs run. It gets even more challenging when their games to come are against FaZe, Miami, and Thieves. 3 very, very challenging teams to beat, but maybe Thieves are easy right now, based on what we were about to see. And this series, well, certainly one of the series of all time. So it's Scrap versus Drazah. Should be a banger, right? FaZe versus Thieves. Thieves, favourites for sure. They just won the previous major. They looked the stronger of the two teams. Certainly the hard point for FaZe. I mean, look, they took down Surge, but they did so in a Neslo fashion, right? Because they still lost both hardpoints. You're thinking, okay, well, Thieves' hardpoint's still really good. Their control, they seem unbeatable at control, right? And even FaZe's Surge hasn't been ideal. So, look at the numbers and you say, well, Thieves should probably be the favourites on recent evidence. Although, of course, Scrap versus Drazah is always real interesting. And we know that certainly this season, Drazah, his whole thing is like, well, they ain't a super team, right? We're the real super team. And a major 3 that Thieves won, FaZe didn't play them, right? Because they bombed out early in the bracket. Not Thieves' fault exactly, but FaZe didn't get the chance to say, look, on LAN, we are still the team to beat. This man, though, is the man to beat. And that's the big talking point of the day. Look, if I had to tell you who the best player in the game is for the last couple of stages, I would have said, well, I'd have given you 3 names. I'd have said Scrap, I'd have said HyDra, and I'd have said Cellium. I think those are the top 3 players in the game. I still believe that's true after this series this evening, but Cellium is making a serious case, right, to be the best. He's been great this year, no doubt, but this series was one of the best individual series you are not only going to see this season, but frankly that you are ever going to see. Against the current best team in the world, the team that just won the major, Cellium comes out game 1 and at a time was near enough triple positive, going on just insane sprees. Like, this guy was undeniable. And let's not forget, by the way, this is a rewind map. This is earlier in the game. He was already 16-6. This is a rewind map that Thieves loved at the start of the year. It's now back in the pool. There was a big talking point that, wow, Thieves rewinds back. Protocol's gone. This is going to be great for Thieves, a map that they liked in the early part of the year. And, well, this is the result. Simp goes 14-24. Not going to see that too often. But Cellium's going to go 39-17 for the map win dub. I mean, just absolutely redonkulous. HyDra in the negative. Ghosty getting slammed. Cell just did it all game 1, and he kept doing it all after that. So, okay, Thieves lose the game 1, it is what it is. Obviously, it's a talking point, though, right? Because FaZe's hardpoint has been looking shaky, to say the very least. And all of a sudden they play Thieves and look like the best team of all time. So I guess that's the Cellium effect when he plays like this. And game 2 was still kind of all about Cellium, but it was mainly about this round, right? So here's Drazah, 4 versus 4 scenario. This is what he does, man. Like, people that say that Drazah gets carried by FaZe, they just don't know ball. And look, I may have my disagreements with Drazah on certain things, and I know that, you know, me and Trey have had a conversation about that before. But I respect Drazah heavily as a competitor. And like, the guy just does not know how to lose. I mean, this is one example. I mean, the way that he plays is it's just great stuff. Like, any team, I think many teams would benefit from having a player like Drazah. And the same is true here. Obviously, he's got teammates flying in first, but he picks up 3 and then aces the round as well and shoots some bodies. So that's a clean retake on a 6 spree, gets the defuse. Thieves fought their way back in, right? They did fight their way back a little bit. But in the end, it was Cellium, who else, to shut down Ghosty trying to make a potential clutch happen. Ghosty gets shut down by Cell. We go to a game 3, but look, Thieves, they're so good at control. Could the reverse sweep still have been on the cards? Sure. It's never over till it's over, and even after a difficult second round, Thieves, they did find their rhythm, they did get the job done, but the elephant in the room was Mr. Scrappy, right, who started off this game 6-19. We've seen it before on Hacienda, and he's now done it again in the big series against Drazah, right? I mean, look, Drazah's had his number so far this year, and in the big game 3 to potentially bring the reverse sweep, Scrap starts off 6-19. He ends the game, I mean, double negative, right? It was pretty much an absolute disaster, and Cellium ends the game on an absolute tear, as he always seems to do. So, yeah, Drazah was giving it large to the camera, and damn right he may do exactly that. Obviously, he had some comments afterwards as well. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty of comments on this over the coming days, and from you guys in the comments section below as well. So, look, this is the series numbers, and Simp had a 0.7, but they won the series, and that is largely because, despite not having the most damage in the lobby by quite some way, it's actually kind of absurd that Cellium's damage was 1,500 lower than Drazah. But that doesn't really matter when he had a 1.95 KD. They nearly let him drop a 2.0 on their heads. Scrap with a 0.9, HyDra with a 0.9, Ghosty with a 0.9, Envoy with a 0.8. Red carpet for Thieves. FaZe start 2-0, and Thieves start 0-2. They're like FaZe last stage. They're going to have to turn this around and fast if they want to qualify with a good seeding for the major. Very much interested your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.